Hey, friends! Robin Hood. Now, if you ask me, there's only one Robin Hood worth talking about, and that's this guy. That's right, Errol Flynn from 1938's The Adventures of Robin Hood. That film is pretty much the definitive take on the story, and Flynn is the definitive Robin Hood against which all others must be judged. But that doesn't mean other Robin Hoods are automatically crappy. No, there's been lots of them, such as the movie we're talking about this time, which came out in 1991. No, not that Robin Hood, but this one, also from 1991. Our story goes like this. Robert Hood is a Saxon who runs afoul of some Normans when he saves a poacher from being arrested. These here Normans are working for Sir Miles Falconet, who's kind of a big jerk who doesn't like Saxons and mistreats them. Hood is brought before his Norman friend Baron Roger de Guerre to account for himself. But while his friend tries to help him, Robert is a hothead and, egged on by Falconet, lets his temper get the better of him and he winds up losing his lands and titles. He and his friend, Will Scarlet, go on the run as outlaws, eventually meeting up with a band of outlaws in Sherwood Forest. He makes friends with them and eventually becomes their leader. Meanwhile, Maid Marian is coming to town, being forced to marry Falconet. So now Robert becomes Robin Hood and has several run-ins with Falconet as he tries to save the day and thwart the plans of both Falconet and Prince John, and save the delectable Maid Marian from the clutches of evil. What we have here is a movie duel. Now, we've talked about these before. It's where two studios wind up working on a similar movie at the same time, and then find themselves in a race to get their picture into the theaters first. Mission to Mars and Red Planet, Volcano and Dante's Peak, Armageddon and Deep Impact. Usually, one or even both pictures suffer from the rush to claim first dibs on screens for their movie. In this case, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, starring Kevin Costner, battled for first showing with this Robin Hood picture. Prince of Thieves won the duel, and this picture wound up on cable TV when the studio realized what a juggernaut they were up against and ceded the field to Warner Brothers. But while Prince of Thieves has some serious star power and sense of scale going for it, this Robin Hood still has a lot to recommend it. True, it has a smaller scale and, at times, feels like a made-for-cable TV movie. Even so, it has an original, gritty, and suitably medieval look to it the bigger picture lacks. The movie has all of the usual suspects, as you'd expect. We meet Robin Hood, Little John, Friar Tuck, Will Scarlet, and so forth, but it tries to shoehorn them into a more realistic historical England, so some characters have Norman names instead of the ones we know. And Robin is not the Baron of Locksley here, but Sir Robert Hood, and the merry men hole up in a cave in the forest, albeit within Sherwood. One thing I really liked here is that the movie was shot in England and Wales during the winter months, so everything is suitably gray, overcast, muddy, dreary, and drizzly, adding to the medieval ambiance and giving this one an air of reality. In our cast, we do have some name brands. Uma Thurman is here. I'd like to say I made it with this Marian. She's a bit headstrong as Maid Marians go, and even wields a sword at one point. But on balance, she's pretty good. We also have Jürgen Prochnow from Das Boot as Falconet, basically filling the role of the Sheriff of Nottingham. Here, he is in his usual evil villain mode that he's always so good at. Edward Fox has what amounts to a cameo as Prince John the Usurper. Little John is played by David Morrissey. He was on The Walking Dead and was in Captain Corelli's Mandolin, among a lot of other things. Owen Teale is Will Scarlet. He was on Game of Thrones. Jeroen Crabbe is Sir Guy of Gisborne, here called by the Norman name Roger de Guerre. He's been in a ton of stuff, but you may know him best as General Kozkov, the fake Russian defector in the James Bond film The Living Daylights. And our Robin Hood is played by Patrick Bergin. He's no Errol Flynn, but he's actually pretty good. He was in Patriot Games, Sleeping with the Enemy, and Lawnmower Man 2. His Robin is a hothead, which gets him into trouble, much like the Robin Hood from the original story penned by Howard Pyle in 1883. That's the one all these Robin Hood stories are kind of based on, and in itself, based on legends and fables of the man in Lincoln Green. Director John Irvin previously helmed Hamburger Hill, Ghost Story, which we talked about last Halloween, and Radil, starring Arnold. He also directed the famous series Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy in 1979, so this guy knew what he was doing. Robin, Will Scarlet, and all of the others are portrayed from an interesting angle in this. They seem to have been going for a realistic Robin Hood, as opposed to the usual larger-than-life heroics and daring-do, although there's still lots of that in this picture. While Prince of Thieves is superior, we shouldn't sell this effort short. I think it's worth a watch for fans of the Robin Hood mythos, and like I say, it's different. They tried to make it realistic. I'm giving this one 2.5 paws up. The movie seems to have fallen between the cracks, so if you like Robin Hood, go ahead and give it a chance. You take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.